Hello everybody, and this is an assignment overview just to guide you through your practical portfolio and lesson plan that you will need to submit for this module. This is what we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to take a look at your assignments and their due dates, what comprises of the practical portfolio, some assignment instructions, as well as some frequently asked questions and the lesson plan assignment. Here is a quick overview of all of your assessments for this module. Your first very big assessment, this is assignment 1, which is your practical portfolio. This includes an introduction, 5 practical artworks, as well as a description of each artwork. This assignment contributes 40% towards your module mark and is due on the 11th of October. Assignment 2 is your lesson plan on any of the 5 artworks. This has a weighting of 20% and is due the following day on the 12th of October. Assignment 3, this is online test 1, will cover units 1 to 3, will have a weighting of 20% and is on the 21st of October. Please make sure that you have enough time to complete the test. Assignment 4, this is online test 2, this will cover units 4 to 6, will have a weighting of 20% and will be on the 1st of November. Again, please make sure that you allow yourself enough time in the day in order to complete the test. Let's take a look at assignment 1, and this is your practical portfolio. You will need to prepare some creative artworks and activities using various techniques for the foundation phase, that being grades Art 3. Your theme this year is festivals, special and religious days in South Africa. It will be marked out of 100, and remember, your portfolio carries a weighting of 40% of your module mark. The due date for this portfolio is the 11th of October. So this is what you will need to do in terms of the layout of your artworks. All of your artworks must relate to the themes: festivals, special or religious days in South Africa. Your first one, which we have already started in class, is drawing techniques, and this is where you select any well-known festival, special or religious day in South Africa and design a garment or costume suitable for the theme of the festival. You need to create a color drawing of your costume. Source examples of the costume attire and use examples as for your own original design. You may not copy another design. You need to incorporate 4 different drawing techniques in your drawing of your costume, and the background must be completed in gray. Please fill the background with creative patterns and shapes. Your second artwork is painting techniques, and this is where you create a painting of a photo taken at a selected festival, special or religious day. Remember, you don't need to keep the same event going throughout the portfolio. You may select different ones. You may maybe your own photo, or you could be an image that was sourced from the internet. And here you need to use at least 3 different painting techniques on your artwork. The next artwork is printmaking, and this is where you select at least 3 well-known symbols or logos which represent your chosen festival, special or religious day, and you use materials such as leaves or bubble wrap or potatoes to print the symbol or logo on the paper surface. Really get creative here. Your next one is your recycled art, and this is where you construct a 3D, so a 3-dimensional artwork from recycled material to represent a significant and important item that is used during your chosen festival, special or religious day. Your final artwork is a 3D letter construction, and this is where you use the first letter of your favorite festival, special or religious day and create a 3D, again 3-dimensional, letter of a cardboard or cardboard box. You need to then collage this letter and cover this 3D letter in pictures and words. These can be drawn or printed, and these need to portray the festival, special or religious day that you are representing. Now that we have broken it down, let's take a look at the assignment instructions for your portfolio. So you need to create an art portfolio using variations of the techniques covered in this module. This is an opportunity for you to practice visual art techniques that will be useful for your foundation phase classroom. Your portfolio will be creatively presented in a Word document with photographed images of your artworks, planning and type descriptions. If your artwork is something that is done in two-dimensional, so 2D, like your painting techniques, your printmaking, and your drawing, it is preferable to rather scan the image rather than photograph it. However, photographs should be fine. Please just make sure that they are clear and do not have reflections on them. The whole completed document will then be uploaded onto ECI. All the two-dimensional artworks must be completed on an A3 size paper before they are photographed and added to the portfolio. The use of A3 encourages you to produce artwork of a suitable size. Your written work, so the planning, the proposed class activities, tips, research, resources, additional notes and examples must accompany each practical artwork. So please make sure that they are on the page before the artwork so we know which artwork it refers to. You then also need to decorate your portfolio. Just also please take note that your written work needs to be typed in a Word document, and the photographs of the artworks, the planning and the research may be added to the document in the required order. Please take a look at the rubric in your assessment guide to see the order. So here exactly, let's break down what the order should be. So your portfolio will need to consist of the following. Your cover design. So this should be a cover design that you introduce yourself. Your art portfolio should uniquely reflect who you are, your personality, and your creative style. Here you need to incorporate your name and student number into the cover of your design. Next, you will need a contents page in which you list all the content of your portfolio in order. Following this, you will need an introduction where in writing, you will need to introduce yourself. Here you are embarking on a journey of self-discovery as how did you get started? Tell us about yourself. Where were you born? Where did you go to school? Where did you live? And what experiences have you had of art to date, be they good or bad? As well as what experiences did you have during the course of this module? Here are some more things you can think about during your introduction. Did you study visual art at school? Up to what grade? How has your attitude to visual art been so far? Has it been influenced by your upbringing or exposure to arts? How do you best express yourself creativity? So tell us, why is it important for you to include visual art in the foundation phase curriculum for your grade R to 3 learners, and how you as the arts educator are planning to integrate it into your classroom. Your introduction needs to be 1 to 2 pages in length and typed at a size 12 black Arial font with 1.5 line spacing and margins of 2 centimeters. You may choose to include some photographs of yourselves. You may use other fonts as long as they are legible, and your headings may need to be bigger in that font size. So all of your artworks need to relate to the theme. So just let's recap. You need to have your drawing techniques, your painting techniques, your printmaking, your recycled art, and your 3D construction. Here again is the order you need to put them in your portfolio. Just a quick reminder that all artwork needs to be entirely your own. Include at least 2 color photographs or scans of items 1 to 3. These are your 2D artworks. Items 4 and 5, which are your 3D artworks, have form and need to be photographed from 3 different angles. In addition to this, please include some photographic evidence, so at least maybe 1 image per artwork, of your construction process to show us how you made them. You then also need to decorate your portfolio in a creative manner. Some more detailed worksheets and the precise criteria necessary for each artwork will be posted on ECI. Please follow these criteria very carefully, as it will have a great influence on how your artworks are assessed and marked. Your description of each of your visual art techniques. This needs to be an explanation of each visual art technique that is included in the art portfolio, with evidence of reading, including references, please. Briefly define the technique and describe how you used it in your artwork. Also explain how the activity you completed could be adapted for a foundation phase lesson. You need to please make sure that you are using the correct referencing technique. This is the rubric that will be used to assess you during the course of this assignment. You will see this rubric is the same as the one you will find in your assessment guide. Firstly, you'll be marked on presentation and creativity, as well as your introduction and reference to the theme. Following this, you'll be marked on your different artworks, so your drawing techniques, painting techniques, printmaking, and recycled art, as well as your 3D construction. You will then also be assessed on your explanations and your justifications of each of your visual art techniques used for each of the tasks. Please make sure that each artwork has its own separate explanation and you don't just write one for all of it. So these need to be a summary of each of your tasks and activities, and in this we are also looking at if you are using the correct referencing techniques. Within this, we also give you a mark on your language and structure. This includes your grammar, spelling, and use of tense. Here is a quick checklist for your practical portfolio so that you know you have covered everything. Your cover page and the details for all of that there. Your numbered contents page, including page numbers. Your introduction. Then in order, your different art activities, your drawing, your painting, your printmaking, your recycled material construction, as well as your 3D construction. You may want to pause and just make sure that you have done each of these in the correct order for your portfolio. Remember that after each activity, you need to include an explanation of each art technique used. Also explain what materials you used and how this would apply to foundation phase classroom for your drawing, your painting, your printmaking, your recycled material, and your 3D construction. Remember to include all references where necessary. Your planning for each art activity needs to be present, as well as some progress photographs. Each section needs to have a separate heading, and the references after each unit using your Harvard method or a reference page needs to be included at the end of the portfolio. There needs to also be color photographs of all the artworks and planning. Next, let's take a look at assignment 2. Now, your assignment 2 is your lesson plan. It will also be marked out of 100 marks and will carry a weighting of 20% of your module mark. The due date for this assignment is the day after the portfolio, the 12th of October. So please prepare accordingly. Now, remember for this one, you need to still use your theme, festivals, special and religious days in South Africa. And you need to plan one detailed lesson for the foundation phase, based on one of the artworks and techniques that you have learned while completing your portfolio. You will need to use your experience and creativity to design a stimulating and age-appropriate lesson for foundation phase learners. You may select any year group from grades R to 3 for your lesson. Please use a lesson plan template which has been provided for you on ECI for your lesson plan. This assignment will be required to be uploaded on ECI. Instructions on how to upload your assignment will be given to you closer to the time of submission. A quick look at what the lesson plan template is going to look like. Now remember, your lesson plan needs to be considered almost like a script. It describes what, why, the how of the lesson. You must have detail so that any other teacher could just pick up your lesson plan and deliver that intended lesson. Your lesson planning will take time and research on the topic, research on the curriculum, research on possible teaching strategies and resources, a design of your own resources, and reflection on questions and adaptations that may be required. And this includes anticipating student responses. Remember, lesson planning is not based on general knowledge. You are very familiar with these kind of lesson plans already, but let's take a quick look. So make sure you include your student name and surname as well as your student number. The date, you circle A or B. This is where you list your course of whether you are FP or higher certificate. Are you a contact learning or distance learning student? and which grade is this lesson intended for, as well as which term in which it will be presented. This is where you need to refer to caps to place it at the right time. Your subject and your content area. Following this, you need to include your lesson topic or focus, and this is where you describe in essence what the lesson is about, and make sure that you put in the CAPS number and attach the copy of the relevant page of the CAPS document to your planning. Your lesson objectives or your outcomes, these can be used by the end of the lesson, and this is where you need to list your objectives, what the children must have learnt by the end of the lesson, what verbs have been used. Be careful in trying to achieve too much. Remember, you need to be realistic. So here you need to make sure that you are SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic. Make sure it is age appropriate and timely. Next, you need to have your method of assessment or your assessment tools. Here you are going to list how you assess each of your objectives that you've already listed. Your descriptions on how you assess them must be very detailed, and you need to provide clear evidence of what must happen during the lessons and in later sections of your lesson plan. If you are going to ask questions, attach a list of your well thought out and planned questions. And if you are going to give them a worksheet or a task, attach this as well as all the resources at the end and list them with the correct references. Your tools need to be observation, questioning, as well as a test or worksheet or written activity. Please remember that in visual arts, we do not use worksheets. Then you have your lesson introduction and your actualization of prior knowledge. This is where you need to describe and guide what happens in this phase. Here you introduce your topic in a creative way, you capture the learner's attention and what they want to learn and find out what they already know, so clarify their prior knowledge. This is usually a shorter part of the lesson, and if you're asking questions, attach an appendix with your questions as it helps to think through these questions before the time. Otherwise, one tends to ask too many of the obvious questions and too many of the same type, not exploring a range or depth. Make sure that you give detail on this. Then you have your lesson development, and this is where you teach your actual learning content, your core content, your activities, your questions, and how you're going to use your resources. So in this section, you need to teach the objectives you have set out using your various activities. Again, you need to describe each of these in detail. And if you're going to give them tasks or worksheets, you need to say how you're going to mark them. If you're going to observe them, exactly what you will be looking for. Merely looking at them is not observing. It's just babysitting. So for example, if there's a story part to your teaching, you need to put a short summary of that story here. And a copy of the front page of the book attached to your appendix. If you are giving them a worksheet, describe about how you're going to do it, and then attach a copy of it to your appendix. You then need to have a lesson consolidation where you recap everything. So you recap the new concepts and skills. It's not just sufficient to say, I will review what they have learned and answer any questions they may have. Again, you need to be creative and you need to provide detail and be practical about this. You cannot ask every single learner to say something. Then you need to list all your resources that you used in this lesson, and you may want to include some things in group lists if they're working in groups. Finally, you do need to have a reference list, and you need to use the correct referencing technique to this. And it needs to have more than just the CAPS document that you are using for this. We need to see that you've done actual research on the topic that you are presenting. Let's take a quick look at how you're going to be marked for this lesson plan. You're going to be marked on your lesson objectives. Are they clear or not? You'll be marked on your assessment strategy, and this needs to be linked to those objectives. You will be marked on your selection of appropriate teaching strategies, and this needs to be appropriate for your specific lesson. You need to have reference to the CAPS, and there needs to be a demonstration of a link between the CAPS and the lesson content. There needs to be clear evidence and relevancy of the core content, and it needs to be age appropriate for the chosen year and grade. Of course, there needs to be logical flow between the lesson phases, so your introduction flows into your development, which flows then into your consolidation. They need to be very logical and flow very naturally and not just seem random and sporadic. Next, you'll be marked on the selection and quality of all your teaching aids that will then need to add value to your lesson. They can't just be random. Your lesson then needs to be completed in detail. So are all the phases complete and are they grammatically correct? Please make sure that you express them properly. You will then also be marked on your focused and well-considered questions, as well as whether your lesson plan has been well researched and have you used the correct methods. All of this will add up to a total out of 100, and remember that this assignment counts 20% of your module mark.